Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Hope you had a great weekend. In particular, I think on Saturday, there must have been all sorts of events. Saturday is that kind of a day. Weddings, galore, all sorts of nice social events. But Saturday was also a very, very important day because it was exactly 1 year to the 2019 elections as the chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmood, had, reminded people who were gathered at a special workshop meeting. These guys were what? They were resident electoral commissioners, they were national commissioners, they were international development partners, and they'd all come together to look at something called an EPP, Election Project Plan. Now, we're so happy that we could get one of those guys to come and talk to us about what was going on in that workshop. The workshop, of course, the professor explained, was to all about harmonize it, but there's nothing like having someone who was in there. And we're talking about our friend, Barrister Mike, Guinea. He's been too long away from us. We're glad to have you back, Mike. Thank you very much for coming on.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Mike Guinea, resident electoral commissioner, Akwa Ibom. So here we are, 1 year less 2 days to the election. And we'll come to that in a moment. But first of all, since we have you here, give us your assessment on local government elections that have happened in recent times.
Well, Yori, with a greater respect to some of the people who are manning the CX we have in Nigeria, we have a total of 774 local governments in Nigeria. Elections in local government are supposed to be the foundation of any democracy anywhere in the world, where the culture of voting, people going to register, voting, the process of election is actually learned. That's where it's supposed to begin. It's the building blocks. But regrettably, and I must say this here, what we have seen in the entire country is most unfortunate. And I carry my placard in my heart. And at various fora, as we are today, I always tell people that we must tell ourselves a convenient truth. That whatever that INEC, what we are doing, it has no foundation at all. Because what ought to be the most important election in any country will be council's elections. But today, I want to say that all those activities, non-event you call elections, are not the mere rape of democracy. All local government, they are not under democracy at all. You cannot call those type of things elections. We have degenerated to a level where they don't even print ballot papers anymore. What they print is result sheets. On election day, you just hear that a party that's in charge of state A, state B, state C, and so on and so forth, they will win everything 100%. But it's only INEC conducted election that you see the reflection of the multi-party system in our country.
But isn't this a serious indictment of the CX?
It's a huge indictment.
Because they're very closely related to INEC.
It's a huge indictment. And I want to say this here, some caveats. And that is that having had the privilege of interacting with some of the finest men that have served in public before being appointed into these bodies, what is actually missing? In fact, this kind of people could do what we are doing, do better than what those in INEC are doing. This kind of men and women we know of.
So what went wrong?
But the problem is that these bodies are not independent. It is the state governors that determines what happens. A state governor determines when an election. In fact, I've interacted with some of them. Someone said, look, Mike, like your system. Sometimes ago we went to conduct a local government election. The governor was abroad. And he called that, look, the election cannot take place. That cannot happen under INEC.
Because I was going to ask if INEC is helpless in such situations.
You see, we are a separate body. INEC is established under Section 153 as one of the federal executive body. In the same vein, the state electoral bodies are also established in the Constitution. INEC is not responsible for local government elections. What we only do is to provide them the voter register,
yes,
and of course, they use a permanent voter's card. Okay. But one thing that should be of interest to Nigerians is that whereas INEC has introduced the smart card readers to bring sanity to the historical figures of moonslide, landslide, those type of invidious figures you get in election time. Do you know that as we speak today, no state electoral body, INEC, wants to get close to a card reader with a 100-meter pole? Nobody wants to use a card reader. And Nigerians are not even saying anything about that. Why are they not using the card reader?
Yeah. When you say nobody wants to use it, they're refusing to use it. What's that about?
Because the ideal of the card reader is to ensure that the principle of one person, one vote. One person, one vote. No proxy voting. You have to be present at the polling unit.
Okay.
But what they are not doing, as we are witnessing all over the country, when they had their meeting, all these governors, some will complain that, look, I don't even have money to do this election because of the huge money we require to print a ballot paper. Oh, one will say, oh, you are still burdening yourself about ballot paper? Just print the results. You print a few people in the urban area. That
really? I mean, if you, a resident electoral commissioner,
I am saying that
are able to say this.
No, Yori, I'm saying this because I fought for democracy. I was detained. And this democracy that we fought for, those who ordinarily ought not to be in charge. Since 1999, some of them have taken benefit of that. But what we are saying, that as Nigerians, they must not destroy the democracy. That 774 local government, how come that it's only INEC conducted the election that you see the reflection of our multi-party system?
So I wanted to ask you, for example,
that those things that are happening are nothing but a mere rape of democracy.
Because I wanted to ask, how is this rape, so-called, able to happen? Take Kano, for instance. There's been a complaint from there. Yes. Look, which voters' register did they use? Do they have their own, or is there not one that doesn't change because this is a different election from the last time? Didn't INEC use a voters' register in that place? I
have just told you here, and at the retreats, the chairman of our commission, we acknowledge that today, the register for that request for register for use for local government is given by the Independent National Electoral Commission. We are the owner of the register of voter. We are the owner of a permanent voter's card. The phenomenon, what happened in Kano that you referred to, interestingly, in the opening remarks of the chairman, if you ever had read the speech, it was very clear that not only in Nigeria, all over the world, the credibility of any election is a reflection of the credibility of the voters' register. And so, what happened is questionable. And that is why the commission said, look, the panel is going to be set up, made up with the voter registry, the ICT department, operation department, for an investigation to find out what happened in Kano. That panel is going to be put together either this week or next week.
Okay.
The report is of interest to Nigerians because, as the chairman said, and everybody can check it, by virtue of Section 12 of the Electoral Act, it is only persons who have attained the age of 18 and above that is qualified under the law of the fatherland to be registered. You must be a Nigerian citizen. You must be domiciled, resident in Nigeria. And by virtue of Section 10, a registration officer saddled with the responsibility of the registration as we did in 2011. And of course, remember that we engaged corpers all over the country to do the registration exercise, youth corpers, boys from universities, to do this. Before you are registered, there must be evidence of, you should bring forward a birth certificate, all right? Your a national passport, driving license, or any document that can establish age and identity. These are the requirements. But of course, as a country that we don't have database, how many of us really truly have that birth certificate? We know there's a challenge there. But you can look at somebody that is 18 years.
I was going to say
you should be able to know this and all that. But of course, if you look, the core staff of INEC, we're just about 16,000. And for that exercise, we deploy going to about 980,000, going to 1 million across the 120,000 polling unit. The question is, with your DDC machine, how do you do that? Why did you not capture that? You see, there is what we call a election registration exercise. It's a collective, multi-stakeholder responsibility. By virtue of the law, it is provided that even when INEC officials have concluded registration, we are supposed to do what we call a display for objections and claims.
Right.
Because in all these communities, people who live in a community, we know. Those who, because the picture, what we are now doing, a biometric system now, your photograph is there and all that, so that you can write to INEC, point out, tell INEC, so and so forth. Beyond that, INEC had to do what we call manual, because we discovered that in the course of the registration, as at that time, there were abuses. You could have a national standard, but implementation in various places, standards could be lowered. And so there have been a continuing effort to improve and weed out some of these things that we have found in the register. And so, in terms of placing the register of voter in a continuum, one could say that whereas we don't have a perfect register, the register we have now from 2011 till date, compared to the previous register where you had the rate of foreigners on the register, and you don't have names of Nigerians, I would say that the current register, despite the observed shortcomings, is still of a higher credibility, integrity than what we used to have before. Well, what is important is continuing effort to weed out elements, things that ought not to be there, as exemplified by what happened in Kano, because the picture is obscene. I was in a program and I said, look, in 2011, I was in Cross River. I got a call from my senatorial district in Delta of communities in my own senatorial district where they were moving people from one place to populate their own figure to register them in another place. I placed a call and I called some of our community leaders and I said, this is wrong. It's a violation of the law. They agreed, but only to tell me that, look, some other communities are doing so. I said, look, a bad example can never be a good example.
Exactly.
We cannot scale down our values to accommodate reprobate conduct. If some people have chosen to be primitive, to be tied to their roots, and not to embrace higher values in this, our community, that must not happen. Well, the greatest problem of Nigeria is the elite of this country. They are the greatest problem of this country. They are the one who engage in this, and young men to do this type of thing. Why me? You see young children on you chase them away.
But in spite of all of these challenges, INEC still it's like it's refusing to be distracted, and it is forging ahead. The chairman said that the voters registration, the continual exercise, that you've actually recorded somewhere in the region of almost 4 million people who have joined the register since then. So that's going on. But thank you very much for the way you describe the register such as it is. It's a far cry from where we want it to be, but then it's a heck of a further cry from where it used to be. And but well, you people are sort of engaging with the challenge, but it does show that we are a special lot. If you guys have the job of organization to do that you are doing, and the chairman spoke about this, the people are not seeing themselves that they're on the same team and are actually frustrating the best intentions in INEC. Because I also noted that the chairman was saying that you all are committed in there to deliver on to the highest global standards, you know, that kind of a thing. So it's the people. Are you people, were you people being idealistic before? Didn't you understand that, sorry, embarrassing as it is to say, the ordinary Nigerian will look for a dodge on any situation at all just so that his individual selfish interest will be served? Are you surprised about that?
No, not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, all the efforts that
because you're angry, quote unquote, angry with the governors and all the elite that allegedly are the back of all of this.
They are behind all of this. They are behind all of this. Not at all. We know the kind of people we are. We know that. That is why, ordinarily, when we're in school, as we're growing up, when we're doing electoral exercise, it's just a show of hand. And nobody will cheat on that. Before now, we used to use state civil servants for the conduct of elections. We discovered that the state government
that's not a good idea.
Took charge of that. We move away from that. We now have a partnership with the NYC. Even the NYC, they also try to infiltrate the NYC. So
people don't want fair elections.
They so fake uniform for NYC. You also have been hearing about police report telling you that about fake police uniform, fake police soldier during elections. So you can see that our society, we are in a state of anomy. And I cannot see any society that can make progress where we don't have role models. There's the dearth of role model in Nigeria. The wrong set of people. Very many of them, they are in leadership, apart from the very good ones that we also find. And so, why did we have to introduce a biometric register? We have to do that because of where we're coming from. That previously, it was ordinary paper card that we used to use for voting. Politicians will carry all the cards and we house them on the election date, they start giving to everybody. Now, we have a biometric register of voter with a smart card reader, and everything is configured. Every register you find on the polling unit must be there. Now, what are they doing? Because we said in the 2015 election that if a Nigerian, his name is or her name on the register, and because we are not able to confirm the fingerprint with the card reader, but the name is on the register, we should be able to use what we call incident form. In some areas, what they basically did was to collapse the card reader and they went all the way for incident form. So there is good news, and there's bad news for such people. As we are going for 20, the commission will also announce to you and all that you are going to be stuck with the card reader. Because what they basically did, all the claims about card reader not working and so on. I went to some polling unit where presiding officer refused to use the card reader.
Okay.
That is not to say that we don't have cases of malfunction of the card reader.
Yeah.
But it's a case of human agency.
Yeah.
The human factor, the refuser of the people to do so. And that's why you don't have local government election. No state in Nigeria wants to use a card reader for its local government election.
For obvious reasons. Well, it's good that here we are a year to the election. In fact,
because let me just make one very insignificant point here.
Yeah.
You have 68 political parties in Nigeria today.
That was what I was going to come to.
Now,
I was going to come to 68.
Yes, if you allow for a kind of election that INEC is conducting to take place in the level of the local government, if this is what the INEC are doing, I can tell you that most of these political parties will be controlling some numbers of local government. They will be running different policies from others. The question of a state hijacking the local government, that fund, that will not be there because Party A will not agree to do so. Now you begin to build up in that way. But today, all the 68 political party, a party registered today, because it's not sure of a fair contest in the local government election, the very first election you want to participate in, governorship election, presidential election, national assembly election, where does that happen all over the world? You must be coming from somewhere, all right? And so when they are talking about delisting, the registering of political party, I say, look, Section 40 is very, very clear. Even the provision of Section 79, subsection 7 of the Electoral Act, the condition for delisting another, you must have won a presidential election, you must have won governorship election, you must have won state of assembly election. The question now is, how many parties can win a presidential election at a time? It must be one, all right? But if you allow them to be participating in a free contest, most of the political parties we are seeing now will be controlling different number of local government and they continue to build in that order.
You know, what has happened here, Mike, is that you've answered the question I was going to ask immediately, that what exactly do you think of the commentary that 68 parties on the roll is too much, but because they have this constitutionally granted freedom, right of
Section 40 association,
right of association, and all of that. But as I said, you've gone ahead and answered it even before I asked it, because that's where. Now, well, there are those who are saying that 68. I mean, even as it is, there are some illiterates that have a challenge. And so some people have started to criticize INEC that, what does INEC mean to be saying that there are too many parties? That's not its business. There can even be more. But I think...
Yes, there's a point I need to make here.
Sure.
You see, the right of association under Section 40 of the Constitution is very clear. Now, the conditions for delisting under the law, some of us...
Because people have asked, why aren't they delisting some non-performing parties?
Now, the best practice all over the world is this. You can exist as a political party, but to be on the ballot will require a different threshold to be on a ballot.
Do we have any such threshold?
We don't have at the moment.
Okay.
The threshold that have been set by Section 79 is questionable. The section says that INEC is given power to deregister a political party, all right, even under the Constitution. It said for failure of a political party to win a presidential election. The question now is, how can that be a gun to deregister a political party? How many parties will win a presidential election at the same time? It can only be one.
Okay. Okay.
So that criteria is questionable.
Yes.
Number two, failure to win a seat either of the Senate, House of Rep, or State House of Assembly. And finally, a breach of the requirement for registration. And one of the requirements, and the only requirement following the judgment in INEC versus Musa in 2003 that was led by our late Chief Ganifa Oemi, was that every political party should have at least an office in Abuja, so that INEC will be able to interact with such body.
But by the way, do you have those 68 offices in Abuja?
That's part of the problem.
Okay.
That's part of the problem.
Okay.
But for us, what we consider as the ideal situation is that, yes, you can exist as a political party. The best condition for them to be able to build up should have been for us to have good local government elections. So that when you have good local government elections, the party will continue to build up in that. Look at South Africa, that's what they do.
So Mike, what do we do here? We have the situation...
We don't have a good local government election in Nigeria.
We have the situation that you have...
Anybody in the INEC who says he wants to challenge me on that, please invite him, bring him up here for a debate.
Yes.
Whether what is going on in the state can be called election properly.
Because these things are something of a domino effect.
Effects.
What goes on, as you said, locally should affect what goes off at the state,
Yes.
executive level, and even ultimately at the national level.
Right.
So there's a sense in which INEC's work can be tarnished if, by what you are saying, what you are alleging, because they have to come and defend themselves that,
Yes.
oh, no, that organ didn't get it right, or all of that. So does this mean that we can't do anything for now because this is the way things are? So, but you're sounding the alarm now, yes, that this is the unsatisfactory state of affairs.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't look like anything can be done because we are Nigerians and this is Nigeria and this is how we roll as we roll up to the 2019 election.
Well, for local government, the conversation is ongoing in the National Assembly. But when I've always said that if one institution is doing well, like INEC right now, we cannot just overburden that institution. Why don't we replicate the value, the template that is used now at the level of INEC at the state level? I'll be making that argument.
Okay.
Now, there's one very important thing that should be noted with respect to this issue about this local government election or its absence. Is the fact that those who are now occupying local government offices as local government chairmen, they are not part of understanding the idea of voting. They are supposed to graduate into INEC-conducted elections. They are not going to be coming out with democratic values, having not been used to the process of participating in election. That will become a problem again for INEC. That is a problem for us.
Yes, yes.
Because
exactly
they are bringing nothing. They are not used to election. Exactly. They have not participated in election before. So what values are they going to bring to INEC-conducted election?
And so this is
a very sad situation.
And that is...
And
what you are saying this morning
people are Nigerians are even giving up. That's the painful thing, that Nigerians are afraid to even giving up. And we must not give up on that, because the majority of Nigerian people are domiciled in the local government. That is the local government. That is a government that is more important, not the state capital or the various states. Not even Abuja. Abuja is too far away from what happened to our people in the local government.
You're just reminding me of our interactions all over again, Mike. Sometimes I try to get in a word, but there's so much stuff in there that's important that you have to put out. Now, what can we do apart from, you've noted it, when you say people have sort of given up, were you suggesting or imagining that, look, in a different climate, people would have protested that this is inappropriate?
It's a serious problem.
Because maybe people don't know. Maybe everybody is just concerning himself with his own affairs. So the state A will do it, state B will do it, and everybody will just do this mutual looking away. Meanwhile, you people in INEC are seeing that, this is not the way it ought to be. But it is being that way, and in time, the result of these exercises are going to be presented to you at INEC because they will go for high elections, and this is what you have foreseen that is going to happen.
You know one of the cause of apathy of election today? INEC, CIEC, electoral body, management body, dealing with one public, but with different standards. So a man who was denied voting in the local government elections, the same man, INEC will not carry voters' education, that there will be free and fair election to the same set of people.
Yeah.
Are you getting the point I'm talking about? The same public, the same electorate, different standards.
So INEC and CIEC are like different republics.
Are different republics.
You know, quite frankly, the way they're going about. Mike, let's go on a break because there are a number of other issues that I want us to touch upon.
All right.
Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. And of course, in that next section, we'll take your calls as well. Okay, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Now, the other thing that was, early this month, about the first 10 days, around the 9th or so, INEC sent published a timetable, an election timetable. The National Assembly has made its inputs, shall we say. Of course, the National Assembly's point of view is that we make laws, we have the right to, intervene for whatever reason. It's our job, and it's all in good governance. INEC says that as of today, it has the constitutional backing and authority to send what it proposed to the National Assembly. So where do we now stand?
INEC, like all other institutions, particularly created under Section 153, are all a creation of the law. We swore to an oath to abide by the Constitution and the Act of the National Assembly. On the basis of that, the existing law, we came out with a timetable. And that timetable is still valid. The additional, which of course the final stage of the ongoing amendment of both the Electoral Act and the Constitution is still ongoing. And so for us as a commission, the law that exists is enough for us to do our planning. We have done the strategic plan. We have come out with the strategic program of action. We have come to Lagos to look at the entire plan up to the election and after election. At the stage we are now is focusing on implementation strategy, because the problem has never been absence of plans, but the issue, the devil, is in the implementation. So the focus,
in the details.
The details actually in the implementation. So we are focusing on implementation, particularly on the area of logistics, on the area of the integrity of the result declared at every polling unit that must be the same at the last point of collation.
And this is within the 2017 to 2021.
2021, what we call the strategic program of action.
Okay.
The one of 2012 to 2016 ended, and it will be reviewed. In fact, the preparation for the 2019 election commenced on July 2015, when the last election was concluded, and the report of that election was unveiled in Uyo in 2015. And so what is ongoing is full-time preparation, and we are now at the level of looking at implementation strategy, particularly...
But you haven't given us the budget yet.
The budget.
The budget is coming this week, right?
Yeah, the budget will be presented by this week. All right?
For consideration of the National Assembly. Okay.
That's for the
now, I've got to take Josephine. Thank you very much for holding on all that while, Josephine. Good morning.
Uncle Yori, how are you? Good morning.
Thank you very much. I'm fine, thank you.
How was the weekend?
Very well, thank you.
Okay. I want to greet my brother, Mr. Mike Ogini. Igini, yes. Very good man.
Thank you.
I like him.
Thank you.
Yes. This INEC, all this said they should scrap them because they are killing the confidence of voters. How can a set sit down and watch this impunity, disenfranchising the people for their rights, bringing children to come and vote, all the people that has the right to vote? Are you telling me the whole 40 local government, no other party? What is going on now is worse, because the last administration, we did not see this. This one is getting out of hand, and if they don't tackle it, 2019 people will not have that party to go and vote, because they will think that is the same thing. And that will get, they are said they are for change. They are not doing change, they are doing opposite. They should come out and stop all this. They can't continue to control every state. You see the way it goes. APC state will take all over. PDP state will take all the seats. How come? There are some people, other people want to vote. They don't want them because of this tech. They should scrap it and let INEC take over. Let INEC do a credible election for Nigeria where people will see this What is going on all over the country? It's a big shame to our country that we don't have moral.
Madam Josephine, thank you very much for calling in. But Mike explained how they're differently set up. You know, so they're sort of, you know, self-contained and all of that, even though the work of one affects the other. I wonder, these things that Josephine is complaining about, things that you started out saying are totally unsatisfactory. I wonder how international development partners that are working very, very closely with you, it's quite embarrassing actually, but I wonder how they, so what's their understanding? Because they are international development partners.
I must tell you.
The UK, US, Europe.
It is shameful. It is shameful. It is shameful. You see, Nigeria is now under the radar of civilization. I feel ashamed that what ought to have been the most important election in our country, today, we don't have election in those areas. It is sad. Nigerian people must rise up. You see, look, democracy is not working at the level of the ordinary people at the moment. It's working only at the level of the elites. That is where we are in the country. Look
yeah, but the people are taking it. The people are not crying. Look, they're not saying anything. That seems to be what you were suggesting.
Are frustrated. For how long this be going? The rapacious. Look, nations are built not on the basis of the greed of their elite, but it's on the basis of the sacrifice of their elite to do the right thing, to take their country outside the limit that have undermined them towards them that are compatible with the expectation of their people. Local government elections are supposed to be the most important. Look, I am a co-federalist. I believe in federalism, and that ordinarily, INEC, State Independent Electoral Commission, ought to be a pathway to our clamor to have true federalism. But what the governors are doing in Nigeria is disgraceful.
Okay, Yakub,
disgraceful.
Good morning, Yakub. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And good morning to Dr. Mike Guinea. We really need you in this program, especially HTN, since you take the job.
Yes.
And then you are welcome back, sir. Chibiori, to me, until National Assembly, House of Assembly, and then the Senate House play their role before we can get this thing right. Let me give you some of the examples. Number one, Chibiori, a station where the INEC official at a polling unit, and then he saw underage come to vote. But he cannot do anything because he lacks power to arrest, he lacks power to prosecute. And then we have the National Assembly to make a law for such things to be happened. But they don't do that. And then come to think of it, Pastor Martin Guinea said something earlier that the preparation for 2019 started after immediately 2015 election come and end. And then they started the preparation. And then our National Assembly, they don't see anything to amend the Constitution from that time up to now. Until INEC roll out the program for 2019, and then they now set up another Constitution, they begin to amend the Constitution, especially whereby it antagonize what INEC has rolled out. That this is our timetable, and then they start their own constitution that this one should come forth, that one should come forth, and then they look at the way they do it. They said we are going to have an election for 4 weeks, 4 weeks, one election every week. And then do you know every week that the election is going to come up in this country, the entire economy is going to shut down. Are they telling us that for the whole 1 month or 2 months that we are going to conduct election, same thing will happen, and then our economy will shut down as well.
Okay.
I want to ask a question, sir. I think INEC should be able to send a bill to National Assembly, a session whereby we will give them opportunity and the right to arrest somebody that is both twice or underage, to be able to arrest that person at the polling unit, and then the right to prosecute. That is where we are going to get it. Failure to do that, we are not going to get it right. Thanks and God bless you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Yakub. A very, very passionate Nigerian. Just about everybody who calls into the program is like that.
I need to make a clarification on the question.
Okay, go ahead first.
Yes, first. INEC don't conduct local government elections. These are clearly the job of the INEC, and that is the problem we're discussing here today. Number two, on the issue of the state of the law, I can say this here, that but for the delay that was witnessed at least this time around at the lower chamber, the Senate, the upper chamber of the National Assembly, since last year, around August, passed its own version. I want to reserve my comments to some of the very profound provisions that will further redefine the polity in 2019. Very profound. Let me leave it at that. It was the delay at the lower assembly that led to where we are now.
Okay.
But in any case, under international best practice, the position is that the law that will regulate election should be in place at least a year before election. And that's what we call sanctity of the law. Under the African protocol, it says 6 months to the election. So our prayer is that now, at least they have adopted their position and all that, they are going to fast track so that this beautiful electoral act content that had to do with issue about primaries, the issue about carried out has been firmly secured, and a whole lot of very interesting provision that will help to checkmate so many things. Those who are planning to train thugs and all of that, our prayer is that the Nigerian security services, they should please be prepared, because election is the only peaceful event that a nation will embark on in peacetime.
Okay. Yakub, well, another Yakub, this time in Kano. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I'm Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Nice speaking with you.
Same here.
My greetings to Mr. Mike Igini, too.
Yeah, thank you.
For his work in INEC. I've been watching him for some time now.
Okay, thank you.
So my contribution is that concerning the using of underage, it is rampant. It's not a fake thing. I voted once in the past election. I saw this live. I didn't participate in this very election because I'm pissed off. So the INEC, it should come and be a super election. In the state election, there must be total collaboration so that we can get rid of this. It's unfair.
Sorry, Musa. Sorry, not Musa. Yakub.
Yes,
your sound dropped there. Did you say you would like INEC to supervise CEC elections?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, let them supervise state election. Let them take it over if possible.
Thank you. Thank you very much for calling in. Thank you. Now, when the first Yakub called, he had said inter alia that the poor guy conducting the CEC election, he doesn't have any power, no power of arrest, so there's nothing he can do. I wondered at that statement. I mean, he can refuse to serve. I mean, what? This is not England, but abroad, if you are looking like 12 or 13 years old, you can't walk into a bar. You will be refused service.
Exactly.
The INEC guy, I mean, the CEC guy, far from not being able to do anything, can't they simply refuse to accept this vote, that you don't look a day older than 13, 14.
You see, I just told you that a committee is about,
to investigate exactly
so
what is
it will
going
be
on.
very important so that we don't prejudice the mind of people with respect to that. But it's an issue that we must stay on.
All right.
And that's why the commission chairman said, once that had been investigated, the report will be made public.
Okay.
I can promise you that after that report, I will also be here.
I'd love that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that date. Mr. George in Ikeja, good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in.
And good morning to Mr. Mike Igini.
Thank you.
Mike, I'm happy at your return to INEC. And I know that all things being equal, one day you will be the chairman of INEC. So that the passion you have for that job and the integrity that goes with you can be brought to bear in full force.
Thank you.
Now, I have two suggestions for Mike about this question of CEC. and then card reader. I know that Mike was the brain behind the card reader at INEC. He developed it to a point before his tenure expired, and it has not been taken further. I don't know if there's anything in the making towards that improvement of the card reader technology to get us to electronic voting. That is one suggestion. Yeah. The second one is about these state independent electoral commissions. The observations Mike made are very correct, but I think we should be talking about how to solve it. If the law does not allow the INEC to conduct the local government election, does the law permit INEC to supervise it? Because I remember that INEC supervises the primary elections of political parties, irrespective of where the party exists. Yeah. Can it, if the law doesn't permit it, maybe we should start from finding a way to amend the law in such a way that INEC can at least supervise the state electoral elections for now until they become right to conduct independent elections. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank
you.
Very
quickly. You are very correct. At the moment, INEC does conduct local government elections and consequently can also supervise local government elections.
Okay.
Number two, as to the use of the card reader, the idea of the card reader was that we should return power to the Nigerian people to avoid multi landslides. One of the necessary components of the card reader was that there will be requirement for a debate on policy on issue. Because the vibrancy of multi-party democracy and the opportunity it gives to the people is on account of the requirement of policy debate and value formation. And so a debate is very, very key in this respect. Now, thirdly, on the question of the state of the card reader, be assured that as I speak to you, the Commission has sent people outside the country and they are back. There's going to be what we call hardware improvements. There's going to be software improvement, and there's going to be process improvement. Part of the process is, for example, on the hardware, you know that the where you normally put your fingerprint and all that, there's going to be improvement on that.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Two, on the software, it's going to be made in such a way that some of the glitches you found that time, they will not be there.
Okay.
Then on process, and that was the basis of the chairman meeting with the NCC. As at 2013, before we left office, because of the provision of Section 52 of the Electoral Act then, that expressly prohibited the use of electronic form as at that time. But the point was that INEC was looking ahead. We had developed and kept in our system a process where, as was demonstrated in Cross River, which is the first time it was test run, I will sit down in my office with every other person, just as you sit down in your bedroom watching CNN. The collation of the results from the wards, you'll be watching it live. Live collation, we're watching it from the ward level, where the party agent will be there. When it's collated at that point of the level of the wards, then it will be transmitted straight away. I was in my office, and I was watching it live from all the ROA of local government. The good news, which is what informed the meeting of the chairman with NCC, is that we have now gone down to the level of the polling units.
All right, that's a further improvement.
Polling unit
now, somebody's waiting.
All right.
So somebody's waiting to hear. Adams in Ilorin, Kwara State. Good morning, and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning, Mr. Mike.
Good morning.
My suggestion goes to the only thing I have seen in this issue is the only problem we are having. It is in a National Assembly. If the National Assembly can sit down this year single-handedly and bring the issue of timetable and amend it to the INEC, I see no reason why the National Assembly could resolve the issue of state INEC. Let them resolve the issue of state INEC.
Okay.
And we all know that that's not the simple reality. And everybody will have rights. The governors will not have any power anymore.
Okay.
But the problem of this country lies in the arms of the National Assembly. We should be sincere to ourselves. Mr. Mike, I have given you kudos on these issues. So thank you, Mr. Yori.
Indeed, thank you very much
now
for
very
calling
quickly,
in.
let me just quickly on the issue of our National Assembly.
Yes.
Please,
you know,
on the basis of what I know, I want to say that beyond the issue about timetable order of elections, I can tell you here that some of us were exceedingly very, very impressed with what is in the works with respect to what is going to come out on the Electoral Act.
Okay.
Some of the issues you've raised, they have been taken, and they're going to be taken to the entire state for endorsement. Amendment of the Constitution and the Electoral Act. A whole lot of issues that have to strengthen the process. Look, let me tell you here. A presiding officer that wrongly fails to use the card reader that gave wrong figure, there's no option of fine. 10 years imprisonment. 10 years
that's a proposal. That's one of the proposals.
It's one of the proposals there. They have done a lot of things commendable to study the process. Our prayer is that as quickly as possible, it should be ready, unlike what happened in 2015, when the 2015 Amendment Act was only signed into law on the 26th of March, 3 days to the presidential election. It was not available to INEC. It was not available to anybody, even when they did a good job by removing by amending section 52 that especially prohibited the use of electronic voting and all that. It was not available to us. In fact, that also accommodated the use of the card reader, but all the matters that went to court, for some reason, nobody got access to it. Okay. But I was making one very last point.
We're fast running out of time.
I was making one last point, which is the polling unit stage. Sure. The polling unit stage is the beginning of elections. That is where, once the voting is counted and the Form EC8 signed, what is being worked out now, and God help us, is that the result of the polling unit in the 120 people in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in Akwa Ibom State, where you have 2,980 polling units, in all our ROA will be transmitted live from that polling. That's what we are working at now, so that you transmit straight away. Okay. It will be scanned, the results will be scanned, then the paper tray will also be there to confirm what has been transmitted electronically. Okay. That is what is
let me just, I was going to close, but then I got this information that Akaraka in Abuja wants to join the program. Go ahead, please. Mr. Akaraka, Abuja. Was that it? So let's come back to the budget thing. People say that INEC has been late, that are much more, you could have indicated that you take this a lot more seriously by presenting a budget earlier. What would you answer to it? The budget has now been said by the chairman will be delivered, will be, ready, completed and finalized as a result of all this workshop that you've just concluded. Yeah. But that criticism that you could have come up with a budget earlier, what do you say?
Our national budget for 2019, is it also ready? So can our budget be different from
the other time when you were complaining about something, you say when you ask them that why did you carry people from here to here, they say look at other people that are doing it. You have now used the same device.
No. What I've kind of that a bad example is not a good example. But what I've been made is this. You see, on a yearly basis, INEC had a budget on a yearly basis since 2015. We've already had a budget 2015, 2016, 2017, and all that. But the budget for election is also now different.
Yeah, I understand.
The kind of retreat we've had is to have a total overview, Let us look at what is left out, so that when we are putting another, it's not as if
coordinating
we don't have
all the officers around the country.
It is not as if you don't have a provisional figure which they already have and all that before them. But it's for you to go around and check everything that ought to be in there.
Now we completely run out of time. We've completely run out of time.
So,
and
I want to assure Nigerians that the integrity of the electoral process, the Nigerian public faith in that integrity will take priority over any consideration. That 2019, God helping us with the cooperation of everybody, we want to deliver a good election that will meet the aspiration of Nigerians for the sustenance of democracy in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Barrister Mike Igini, Resident Electoral Commissioner in Akwa Ibom and a recent attendee at the special workshop that effectively flagged off a one-year countdown to the elections. Thank you very much for this progress report. And I take particular note of what you promised, that, look, you will come in again as soon as you have information on the investigation into what exactly happened in Kano local government elections. Thank you very much, Mike Igini, for coming on. Okay, so that's our program. You can join us tomorrow for a fresh edition at 10:30 in the morning. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.